Hey, I'm Joe Pellegrino, the president of Legacy Minded Men, and I'm really excited for my guest today. We have Libby Sanderson of Youth for Christ. And Libby is she's just one of those people that just lights you up and gets you excited about your faith. And today we're going to be talking about something that's really near and dear to my heart. It's about dads and their daughters. You guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, we have boys and that's one thing, but a girl, different animal. And we need to be able to understand how they think. And Libby is really, really good at this. So Libby, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe. I'm really excited to be here.
Libby, just tell us a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the executive director of Youth for Christ here in Indian River County, and I serve kids. What we do, Youth for Christ, is we go into public schools, we build relationships with lost kids in order to share Christ with them. And so it's a very relational ministry, and I've had the pleasure of walking alongside of so many young females who have good dads, females who have violent dads, females that have disengaged fathers, and females that don't have any dads at all. And I've really been able to see what happens in the lives of girls' lives when they're affected by their fathers.
This is such a powerful topic because the father issue is an issue that we deal with every day. And I really truly believe that the fatherlessness issue is the greatest problem in the world today.
Yeah.
It's men who have abdicated their role as not only leaders and husbands, but most importantly, fathers, because our kids don't have anybody leading them. And statistics really, really speak to that. Let's look at this. If there's no father in a home, the kids are at risk 4 times more for poverty. Their girls are 7 times more likely to have a pregnancy as a teen. Mm-hmm. They're more likely to face child abuse, substance abuse, all of these different things, all because a dad chose to step out of their life. So let me ask you a few questions. What do you believe the significance of a father is in a girl's life?
So a father is the man a girl learns to relate to. Girls look at their dads to show them who men are. Who are men? And so without fathers to relate to and to bond with, there are destructive consequences for our girls. So the significance of a father is to be that man that shows her who men are supposed to be. Without, then 2 really destructive things tend to happen. One, she will not know how to choose a man wisely. She won't know how a man should treat her, and she may end up with a man who mistreats her because she didn't have a father to look at and who dotes on her and protects her and provides for her. And the second really destructive consequence is that she's going to try to fulfill her desire to bond with a man and probably go from man to man. And so girls without fathers in their lives are far more likely to be sexually promiscuous and to begin sexual activity at a younger age. And that leads to an onslaught of depression and low self-worth. And so fathers give their children security and safety, and they need love, and they typically get that from moms. They get security and safety from their fathers. A college professor that I very much admire once said, "No man can do for a girl what her father can do for her."
Amen. So Libby, let's keep moving on here. Mm-hmm. What does a daughter see in me? What is she seeing in me? What is she looking for?
Yes, she sees you as the example of what a man should be. As a father, you are the man that she's going to compare all other men to. You're going to be the rubric by which she grades potential boyfriends and husbands. In younger years, she's going to see you as invincible. So in the early years of her life, she sees all the things that you can do, and she's impressed by it. And in this stage, make sure you teach her things that her mom can't. Sports, outdoor activities, involve her in yard work. Let her see how useful and needed men are. When you pick her up, she's going to just feel how strong you are, and she's going to feel the stubble and the scruff on on your face, and she's going to remember those things. And that's going to be a sense of security for her that I mentioned previously. In the middle grades, she potentially could see you as annoying and as embarrassing. And in that phase of life, she's figuring out, who she likes and where she belongs. And her friends can become really important in this stage of life. And so she still will want your attention and she'll want your involvement. But she's trying to figure out, what she can do on her own. And so in that stage, make sure to take an interest in her friends and the activities she likes. Learn her friends' names, ask her questions about them, and go to her cheer competitions or swim meets, even though it's Saturday morning and you'd much rather be on the golf course. It's imperative that you take an interest in the things she likes and her friendships. And then in high school, she's going to see you as out of touch. She may think that you don't know much about the way the world is. And in this phase, be sure to begin deeper conversations with her. Challenge her to be open and to share her feelings and thoughts. Correct her when she needs it. Put her in her place. She's in high school, but she needs a dad that draws boundaries for her and that always speaks truth.
It's funny you mentioned about yard work. And one of the great mistakes I made with my daughter, I have 2 boys and a daughter, is I was grooming her to be a wife and a mom. That's what she wanted. And I never really pushed her to work, but I pushed my boys. And that really came back to bite me and her. And it took a number of years for my daughter to really rebound from that. And I would have said that back then, she probably wouldn't have really looked for a man like me because I really wasn't pushing her. And now I've recognized that and I've made the necessary adjustments. And now she's looking, I believe, exactly for somebody like me, somebody who is strong, somebody's going to lead, somebody's going to love her and the way she deserves to be loved. So, yeah, guys, I just want to clarify what I just said. Treat your daughter with respect. That respect is also to push her and to challenge her. And even though she is, maybe a weaker vessel physically, the reality is push her forward because God built her for purpose, just like he built your son, just like he built you for purpose. Get everything out of her. Let her leave it all on the table. Don't rob her of that. And that's one thing I'd like to leave you with today.
Yeah.
Okay, Libby, let's move on here. So when I talk, what does my daughter hear?
Oh, okay. This is a great question. And I'm going to actually take a different turn here and talk about biology and the gender differences that come with the anatomy of the brain. So I was blessed to go to college in the mid to late 2000s, and I earned a degree in middle grades education and a minor in psychology. And for my schooling, we were instructed to read a book by Dr. Leonard Sachs, and it was titled Why Gender Matters. It's a really great resource for parents out there to see the difference between boys and girls. And in it, Dr. Sachs lays out the scientific findings of the discrepancy in hearing among boys and girls. He writes this, he says, there is good evidence now from several different sources that newborn baby girls hear better than newborn baby boys. Scientific findings show that baby girls' hearing was substantially more sensitive than baby boys. Other studies have demonstrated that teen girls hear better than teen boys. And so he goes on to cite studies and basically share that the female to male difference in hearing only gets bigger as kids get older. And so these differences in girls' hearing have a major implications for how we should be talking to girls. And so you as a father may not think that you're yelling at your daughter, but she, on the other hand, she's hearing, her hearing is better. And so it's a whole different take for her. So when you talk to your daughters, be sure to avoid raising your voice. You can be stern when needed, but monitor the volume level at which you're speaking. Other practical tips of how to talk to your daughter that come from Dr. Sachs's books. And so girls are much more emotive, so sit across from them when you're talking. She wants to see your face. She wants to read your expressions. And she's probably, as a female, going to be more expressive facially than boys will be. So when she is saying things, you can learn a lot by, eye-to-eye contact and following her facial expressions. And in addition to when you're talking to your girls, ask questions. Be curious about her. See what she has to say about things. This will show her that you value her thoughts and opinions. You're not good at asking questions. That's a lame excuse. There's so many books out there that are just have pages and pages of really good thought-provoking questions that draw out conversation and build deep relationships. And I can cite those. Focus on the Family has a ton of them. There's great questions out there that if you need those kind of resources.
Wow, this one really hits me hard because, and I want to touch on my wife and my daughter. My wife will say to me sometimes, "Why are you yelling at me?" Now, if you know me, I'm a passionate person, but I'm also calm. I don't raise my voice a lot, but she's hearing it differently. And with my daughter, I know she'll be like, she'll come in the room and I'm working, and I will continue working because I can multitask, right? But the reality is, guys, we need to pause, stop what we're doing, and look them in the eye. And I admittedly have some challenges with this because of the way my brain works, but it's no excuse. What we need to do is stop and listen as if they're the most important thing in the world right then and there, and they are. Because remember something, what they're coming in to talk to you about is important to them, and it needs to be equally important to you, to me. So that's, Libby, that's a great one. I really love this one. So Libby, let me ask you a question. How should I engage my daughter? How can I validate her well?
So I mentioned before that a father is the example for a girl of what a man should be. However, I held back in giving a little bit more practical advice because I knew that we probably would get to this. And so you as a father have the ability to show your daughter what her future husband should look like, not by focusing your attention on her. Instead, the crucial thing is you should be focusing your attention on her mother. When husbands serve and honor their wives, they affirm their daughter's femininity. You're bolstering her and you're giving her a solid foundation for lifelong self-respect. And it's what your daughter observes when she sees you interacting with your wife on a daily basis. Those things matter. So there are a number of other ways, but that's the key. Your attention and your love, focus that on her mother. She will see you doing that and you will validate her in so many ways. And there are a number of other things that you can do one-on-one with her to help amplify the message in a more intentional and direct way. Like, for example, you can take time to date your daughter on a regular basis. You can get together over coffee or spend an hour, taking her to a nice meal at her favorite restaurant. And you should be surprised. Like, it's surprising the impact like an event like that takes on your growing girl. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be big. Like, kids don't need a parade. It really doesn't matter what the activity, as long as your daughter knows she's important enough for you to spend time with her. Little things like going grocery shopping together and making a meal together, those things matter. Those little moments over time add up to her whole life. So mark those moments with intentionally thought through planning and togetherness. I mean, I said it previously, share things you love with her and engage in things that she loves as well.
So let me ask you this question. For those men who are either divorced or they never married or their wife passed away, obviously she cannot see him interact with their mom.
Yeah.
So what can he do in that situation?
Yeah. So if her mother still is in the picture, or if her mother passed away, only ever speak kindness and gentleness and love and affirm her mother. Only, never, ever, ever tear her mother down. And then the other things is there are, other women out there, like older women that could be a grandmother figure to her. Love them well, treat women with respect. And that will show her that, okay, this is how men should treat me. Yeah. And then she won't put up with disrespect from others. And so that's really huge. There are other women out there. If you are not married, if you don't have a great relationship with her mother, start, you can always recover from God's grace is big enough. You can, treat her mother to a pedicure one day and just say, hey, go get that. I'm going to take, our daughter, I'm going to go do this and with her, and you guys, I know you work hard and you can just have that. I mean, There's so many ways that you can love and respect women around you that will help your daughter see how women should be treated.
And it's never too late.
No, it's never too late.
Start today, guys. Start today. So how can I show my daughter that she has value? And today it's just, I mean, I look around and these girls have no identity. They're lost. And obviously men play a big role in that. So how can I, as a dad or a granddad, how can I show that they have great value?
This seems really simple, but tell her you love her often and all the time. Like, tell her you love her all the time. Studies repeatedly show that a girl's self-esteem is impacted by her father's love. A couple other things, like, I mean, I don't know, men, my dad said, I love you, but like, it's just always good to hear it so many times. And so a couple other things, invest in her. You can do that. Again, teach her things. Spend time with her. If you're a craftsman, show her the craft. Like, spend time with her doing different activities. And also financially invest in her by providing opportunities if you can. Music lessons, dance classes, sports team registrations. You'd be surprised at, like, girls who do those kinds of activities. They have a lot more value and self-worth than girls who aren't invested in those ways. And then share the gospel with her. As a father, you are the spiritual leader of the home. Yep. Model a good relationship with God and never, ever, ever stop telling her that Jesus thought she was worth dying for. Be sure to put your identity in Christ instead of your accomplishments, your talents, your salary. Don't put your identity in those things, because if she sees you doing that, putting your identity in worldly things, she'll do the same thing, just in different ways. And so if she sees your unwavering heart, she is much more likely to know her value is found in who God says she is, instead of the things the world says are valuable.
That's great. That's really good. Here's a big one for you. How can I help my daughter overcome her body image issues?
This is tough. This is really hard. And you can do things, but ultimately that's going to be between her and God. But here's a couple of the things that in society, we tend to praise boys for what they do and girls on how they look. When I was a teacher, I did this when I was like greeting my students at the door. I was like, Brent, you did a great job at last night's soccer game. You blocked that penalty kick, like, awesome job. And then Sarah would come out, Sarah, good morning. Is that a new hairstyle? You look so cute. And that's the kind of thing we validate. Now, I'm not saying that this is something I want to vilify or totally do away with. God created women to be visually attractive, and that's good. But it is good to know these things so we can guard against it or balance it out. And so a couple of things: refrain from making comments about women's physical appearance, positive or negative. Okay. It sounds super simple, but I would hear my father making comments about women on TV growing up. Whether they were newscasters, sometimes female golfers, I would hear him like comment on their weight or things like that. And that was, and sometimes positive comments. And even when they were positive comments, I would see him praising women for the way they looking a certain way. And I knew I maybe didn't have that feature, or I would like, oh, okay, that's what's important to my dad, and the only women you should ever be commenting on is your wife. And it should only ever be positive. So refrain from making those comments.
I hope you just heard that, because I don't know, I just got slapped in the face right now. So, I mean, wow, how true is what she just said.
Yeah.
Libby, that is really powerful. And I think a lot of men struggle with that because they think it's very, it's innocent, the comments. It's just something that we say, but you're right. It's kind of like when you talked about with the hearing, they're more in tune to hearing something that's actually negative out of something that we're saying that's positive as well. So, wow, that is really, really strong. I hope you guys caught that one.
Yeah. I mean, and I remember the times we were in the living room, Golf Channel's on, ladies are golfing, and he makes comments, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess that's bad. Or, maybe they're worth less because their weight is a little bit higher. Or, oh, she's worth more because she's prettier. And I'm hearing that from my father. Again, you have a huge responsibility there. And so always praise your daughter's inner beauty. Like when she does a good deed or she's being a good friend or a good sibling, tell her and tell her that her spirit is beautiful because she did that. Tell her that she's lovely in your eyes and in the eyes of the Lord. And so that's one. Praise her inner beauty, the things that she's doing that are good, and limit her social media consumption. I would say don't let her have any social media in the first place. But if she does, like sometimes it's hard to like backtrack. If she does have social media, limit it and stalk who she follows. Have all her login credentials so that you can see who she follows, who she messages, what kind of suggested posts are popping up on her feed. So I don't know if you guys know that the algorithm sends her unsolicited posts that those, if you log in and look at her feed, you can see it's a really good indication of what she's looking at and who she's aspiring to be like. So log into those accounts daily and at different times during the day. So she can't like, oh, I know he always does it at night, so I'm going to delete things. And so Satan's alive and well on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Gas, WhatsApp, YouTube. And so you need to be too. Again, I recommend not allowing any social media for adolescents, but this is the world we live in. So
key word, guys, accountability,
Yeah.
stalk. Don't be ashamed to stalk. It's your daughter's life. Talk to me about who she dates and actually picking a spouse. Let's discuss that.
Yeah. So hopefully you've laid the groundwork when she was younger by doing a lot of what we talked about. And if you have, you're going to have a much easier time with this. If so, your daughter will want your approval for any boy she's interested in. She'll know how she should be treated and she will not allow anyone to objectify her. So with that said, I'm super old school with this. So if there is a guy she's interested in, and fathers, you know she's interested in them because you have regular conversations with your daughter and ask her about the boys she's friends with and the boys she talks to. Okay, so you already are doing that and know, right, dads? And so you need to vet him and don't let this be a surprise to her. Be regularly laying out the guidelines for what it comes to dating. Like, so meaning her whole life, you need to be telling her what she can expect when she starts dating. So she already knows that when she's interested in a boy, you are going to meet him and she's going to be, if she's going to be spending one-on-one time with anyone, you will be already like familiar with who he is, know his values, know what kind of family he comes from. And you know, you're preparing her for this her whole life. So you're telling her this. Don't do it teasingly or else she will think it's a joke. Like, I'm going to have to meet him. I'm going to have a shotgun. Like, don't do that. Be serious and let her know the whys behind it. And that really matters. Like, just so you know, like when the time comes, when you're going to be courted by a boy or when a boy is going to want to take you out on a date, I'm going to meet him beforehand. And here's why. Because we care about you and we value you and we want to make sure that anyone else who's spending one-on-one time with you, that they know you're a blessing and that it's a obligation, like he will be responsible for you during that time and those kind of things. So saying the whys behind it really matter. And so vet the guy. So sorry, let me go back. First, she knows what's expected. She knows how it's going to go because you've told her about it her whole life. And then when it comes to vetting the guy, make him come over and get dinner and have dinner with your family. If he's serious about pursuing your daughter, he'll be willing to do that. She is not going to like that, potentially, but she knows the whys behind it because she's been hearing it her whole life. And she knows that day is going to come. So she'll either get over it or be a Spencer her whole life. So plan a family game night, invite him into that. And you'll be able to get a good feel of who he is and how he treats others. Especially when you bust out like Sorry or Monopoly, like people, you'll be able to see his character. Yeah. So those things matter, you know, and making it like, not super intimidating for him, right? We don't want to scare off these guys that she is interested in, but say, hey, come over. We're going to have a game night. It'll be so fun. And just like, you know, those kind of things. And hopefully you have done the work beforehand so that she knows how she should be treated and those things. And because again, she's going to go off to college. She's maybe lives in a different city one day and you won't be there, but you've laid these groundworks and she knows how she should be treated and she won't put up with mistreatment. So
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
This is my final question for you. And this is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
How can I teach my daughter to be courageous and not be afraid of taking a risk?
Oh, great question. Fathers need to know the difference in boys and girls when it comes to taking risks. A lot of research shows girls are less likely to enjoy risk taking for its own sake and are much less likely to be impressed by risk taking behavior. Boys are going to see a guy who rides his bike off of this 12-foot high ramp and crashes, and they're going to be impressed that he took the risk. Girls are going to be like, they're crazy, and so girls may be willing to take risks, but they're less likely to seek out risky situations just for the sake of living dangerously. And this actually inhibits them in life. So they don't go for the promotion. They don't ask their boss for the raise. They don't do things that push them further. And so because girls assess risk differently, and they differ in their likelihood to engage in those risky behaviors. So, and I'll just give a statistic too, the majority of drowning victims are males. And it's because a lot of researchers believe it's because more males overestimate their ability to swim. Girls, on the other hand, won't. They underestimate themselves in life. So as I'll kind of explain what fathers can do through, there was an experiment done about learned helplessness. And so there's this experiment that they did with mice. They would take mice and they would put them into really fun, engaging environments, mazes, wheels, different traps, and different things that they could get for treats and things. And then they would take other mice and they would just hold them in their hand really tightly and not let them move, right? And this was for several hours to days, they would just do this experiment, and they would keep them in little containers. And then they would take these mice that have been in really fun, engaging, kind of interesting environments, and they would throw them into a bathtub full of water. And those mice that were in those environments were able to get themselves out of the tub. The mice that have been held, they would drown unless someone would come in and rescue them. And so, moral of the story, provide your daughters with plenty of experiences in exploring new situations, facing their fears, entering into safe social situations alone, i.e. that safety net friend who, I'll go as long as I know someone that's going to be there. No, cut that out. And they'll be able to summon up strength and courage when it really counts in life.
Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah.
What's your background? I mean, the knowledge that you have is just tremendous. I mean, what did you study? I know you were a teacher, but
yeah,
give me a little background here.
So a lot of this was when I got a really great education. I went to Campbell University, and they have a middle grades education program, and it was this program that I went through has won awards throughout the nation about just really how to teach to the middle. And so I'm really great with middle schoolers, but the things that they've done, these kind of, okay, here's what girls need. And they even had if different times where, they saw us as teachers, we were going to potentially be in an all girls school or an all boys school. And they talked about they did a whole session on okay, here's, if you are teaching to all these girls, here's what they're going to need. And one of the things, as far as risk goes, it's interesting. They taught us about dare training and brave points. And this works really well for younger girls. So if you're a family and you have daughters, dare training is really cool. It's when you construct dares that are risky, but are safe and in our monitored event. So dare your daughter to stack couch cushions and then jump off of a bar stool, but be there, kind of, or dance in a public place. Or one of the things that I thought was really cool is a bunch of teachers had when they had a smaller class, had a Nerf gun at the front door of their class. And so when they came in, the teacher was hiding. And for the girls, it's risky. Boys are going to love that, right? But girls need those kind of things that push them. And brave points, the same. If you're at a family gathering or going to a theme park and she's scared to go on the ride, do brave points. So if you ride this ride, you get this many brave points. And then those brave points, she can cash in and earn an ice cream or a daddy-daughter date. But you can't cave on that. You can't give her those incentives unless she actually earned the brave points. And so things like that, doing those things with your daughter to help her, gradually let build her and stretch her abilities. And those are really good things to do with girls that are scared of taking risks. And we as females we doubt, we underestimate ourselves, and it hurts us in life. So, and do those things separate from boys and brothers as much as you can, for like dare training and things like that, because doing that can make it easier for girls to take risks without the fear of boys making fun of them or belittling their achievements, because boys aren't afraid of anything. And so if she's scared, so those kind of things are important.
So this has been great, but let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Well, everything you said today, if you had the opportunity to leave one nugget inside every man listening to this, what would that one main nugget be?
Yeah. I think don't ever underestimate who you can be for your daughter. And don't ever, don't let her push you away. She wants you. She needs you, and she wants you.
Even though at times she'll push you away.
Yeah.
She wants you to rescue her. She wants you to be there for her.
Push back. You are the man that can do things for her that no other man can do.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Libby, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
We have God's blessing all over you and your ministry. And thank you again for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Joe.